This episode is sponsored by Circle K. Get the most savings on every gallon when you fuel with the Circle K Fleet Card. Learn more at CircleKFleetCards.com.
Hello and welcome to the State of the Fleet Industry, a weekly video series produced by Automotive Fleet magazine, which is sponsored by Circle K. I'm Mike Antich, editor of Automotive Fleet, and today I'd like to examine what's occurring in the fleet industry for the week of April 11th, 2022. And as any fleet manager will tell you, there's been an ongoing, across-the-board increase in total fleet expenses. And these expenses run the gamut from higher acquisition costs, to decreased incentive monies, to record high fuel prices, to an overall increase in almost every single line item in a fleet operating cost budget. And for this week's episode, I'd like to drill down and focus on why maintenance costs on a cents per mile basis have been increasing for most fleets. And in this discussion, I'd like to examine 5 key industry trends that are exerting this upward pressure on fleet maintenance costs. And at the end of each discussion, I'll provide my forecast of the cost trends that fleet managers should anticipate for the balance of calendar year 2022. And the first trend that I like to examine is the longer vehicle service lives, which have been occurring for the past 2 ordering cycles. Many vehicles that were scheduled to be taken out of service weren't because they had difficulty in sourcing their replacement vehicles. So as a consequence, these vehicles scheduled for replacement were kept in service for another year. With a typical fleet vehicle averaging 20,000 miles per year, extending a vehicle's service life by another year or even 2 results in an inevitable uptick in the amount of unscheduled maintenance. So operating older units with higher mileages has been a key factor in contributing to higher maintenance expenses due to an industry-wide uptick in unscheduled maintenance incidents. And because of the ongoing difficulty in sourcing replacement units, many fleets today are more likely to invest in high-dollar repairs, such as repairing drivetrain components, because they have no choice. You need to spend the money to keep the vehicle in service, which in the end result is increasing a company's overall maintenance spend. And in addition to unscheduled maintenance, delaying a vehicle's service replacement, has a huge impact on scheduled preventative maintenance expenses. This additional 20,000 miles or more usage that happens when a vehicle misses its replacement cycle invariably takes the vehicle into a new PM cycle of replacing expensive wear items such as brakes and tires, which would not have occurred if the vehicle had been replaced as scheduled. So my prediction, expect the continuation of difficulties in sourcing 2023 model replacement vehicles due to the carryover of the large pent-up fleet demand for ordered units that were not produced in model years 2022, and in some cases, even model year 2021. The second trend that's impacting fleet maintenance costs is the increased cost of replacement tires. And this was already occurring and trending higher throughout calendar year 2021, and these elevated prices simply extended into calendar year 2022. On average, replacement tire prices rose 3 to 7% in calendar year 2021. And this is a big deal for fleets. Tires are the 3rd highest fleet expense after depreciation and fuel. And as a consequence, the higher price of replacement tires is one of the largest contributors to the increase in fleet maintenance spend that fleets are experiencing today. And the primary reason for the higher price of replacement tires is due to the higher cost of raw materials used to manufacture tires, namely crude oil, rubber, and steel. Higher prices for these commodities has increased production costs for tire manufacturers, and who, in order to maintain their profit margins, are passing the extra costs to the end user by raising the price of these replacement tires. And in addition to higher commodity prices, the logistics costs have also increased. These are the costs to transport tires from a factory or a port to distribution centers and retail stores. This is all increased due to record high fuel prices used for the trucks that transport these tires. And these costs are being passed on to the end user. In addition, many low-cost replacement tires are imported, and the cost of these tires are likewise increasing due to a spike in ocean freight rates that occurred in 2021, increasing the shipping costs for tires imported from Asian countries. So what is the forecast for replacement tire prices for the balance of calendar year 2022? My prediction is to expect more of the same. The elevated prices for commodities used to manufacture tires will continue through calendar year 2022, and these costs in turn will be passed on to end users. The third trend that's been impacting fleet maintenance costs has been this ongoing constraint in the availability of automotive spare parts. And this has been going on for a while. In fact, since calendar year 2021, supply constraints of automotive components has continued to be an issue, with lead times for back-ordered parts sometimes ranging from not only days, but up to months before that part actually arrives at the repair facility. The bottom line is that these parts constraints are causing repair jobs to take much longer to complete, thereby lengthening fleet vehicle downtime, and in some cases, adding an additional expense for a short-term rental vehicle. So my prediction is that the prices for raw materials used to manufacture spare parts will continue to remain elevated for the balance of the 2022 calendar year. And the fourth key trend is higher labor rates. Labor rates are continuing to increase and have been since 2021, primarily driven by the shortage of qualified technicians and the need for service providers to offer competitive wages to attract this limited pool of candidates. In addition, this was further aggravated by the inflationary pressures that emerged at the start of calendar year 2022. There is an intense competition between dealerships, independent service providers, and fleets that operate in-house maintenance facilities for this limited number of skilled technicians. And this competition is exerting upward pressure on these labor rates, and these labor rates are being passed on to the end user. And plus, on top of that, as baby boomers continue to retire in large numbers with fewer young adults entering the automotive service industry, the technician shortage will continue to be a long-term challenge for the automotive industry. Plus, as vehicles become increasingly dependent on electronics and software, it's already begun to stretch the skill set of many existing technicians at independent service providers. My prediction is that the technician shortage, it's nothing new. Its origin started decades earlier, and its shortage will continue for the foreseeable future. We're just going to have to deal with it. Trend number 5, increased vehicle complexity. Vehicles are more complex than ever. And one consequence of the increased complexity of today's vehicles is that the average transaction price per incident has increased. As vehicles become more complex, so do vehicle diagnostics and repair when malfunctions occur. While these systems are very reliable, when an issue does occur, it has a major impact on fleet maintenance expense due to the increased diagnostic expense to identify the source of the problem, and in many cases, the subsequent recalibration of advanced driver assistance systems, or the ADAS system that's found in vehicles. And today we're entering a whole new level of vehicle complexity as we continue this transition to vehicle electrification, again, stretching the skill sets of today's technicians. My prediction is vehicle complexity is going to put even greater reliance on the use of diagnostic tools in isolating the source of malfunctions, and greater pressure on training and expanding the technical skill set of the next generation of technicians. So with this as my final observation, I'd like to conclude my State of the Fleet Industry presentation for the week of April 11, 2022, and I'd like to thank you for watching.